Maisie Williams and Sophie Turner are MFEO, which stands for totally made for each other. They seem to be on the same wavelength and work well together too. Of course, these Game of Thrones stars didn't even know each other's names until they met while auditioning for the show. And although in some ways they're total opposites, they've also got that sisterly bond. They've even had some unforgettable funny moments that will have you cracking up. But did you know these two girls knew right from the start that they were going to be famous? We'll explain a bit more later on, so watch until the end to see what Maisie Williams and Sophie Turner's funniest moments are. Carpool Karaoke BFFs. Have you ever heard of Carpool Karaoke the series? Well, most people have, but if you've been living under a rock, let us break it down for you. It's the show where celebrities are paired with each other and they get to drive around and sing along to popular songs. If you haven't heard of it, then you probably missed the segment with Maisie Williams and Sophie Turner. It's such a shame too because the girls were so on point, it was absolutely hilarious. Their segment ran over 16 minutes and began with a Game of Thrones parody. Sophie's the one doing the driving when an old dude gets in her car. She tells him he's in the wrong car and that she's waiting for her friend Maisie. Then the old dude takes his mask off and surprise, surprise, it's none other than Sophie's BFF, Maisie Williams. The girl who brought Arya to life goes on to say her character's infamous line, quote, "A girl has no name," end quote. Later on, Sophie and Maisie recite lyrics from Baby Got Back and Hakuna Matata while impersonating their on-screen dad's accents. But they spent most of the time laughing their heads off and having fun like most normal girls do. Do you think their friendship is the reason why they vibe so well on Game of Thrones? Sophie rejects Maisie on Twitter. Talk about a serious burn. When Maisie asked if she could go on a date with Sophie, her BFF blatantly told her no. Sophie left Maisie feeling redder than the Game of Thrones Red Wedding episode. Were the two of them having a blowout fight? Not really. They were just messing around with each other. Here's how it went down. Sophie tweeted, quote, "Want to be my +1 at the Dark Phoenix premiere and hang with me in the X-Men cast?" End quote. Naturally, Maisie saw this as an opportunity, so she tweeted back, quote, "OMG, pick me please," end quote. But Sophie wasn't about to miss the opportunity to mock her Game of Thrones co-star, so she wrote back, quote, "Fat chance," end quote. Talk about being savage, right? Of course, Maisie and Sophie were just messing with each other. The Omaze charity was offering a fan and a friend the chance to fly to LA along with Sophie to watch the Dark Phoenix premiere before everyone else. Now the most important question is, how would you have handled winning that contest and hanging with Sophie? Don't worry, we would have fangirled too. Sophie comments on Arya and Gendry. Are you Team Arya? Well, if you're not, don't tell Sophie Turner that. She's a huge supporter of her on-screen sister, but it's safe to say that she's also head over heels in love with her co-star Maisie, especially after one especially steamy episode for Arya. Jaws dropped on the floor when Arya and Gendry, a skilled blacksmith, got together in the special scene that gave fans honestly what we've all been waiting for. But it was Sophie's not suitable for work video commentary about the scene that had social media buzzing like crazy. In the short 12-second video, Sophie is holding a glass of red wine as she shared her approval of Arya and Gendry's not-so-subtle encounter. In the video, she said the show probably wanted the episode, quote, "to have a little Easter bunny hopping into," well, we'll let you go watch the video for yourself. Like we said, it's not safe for work. Honestly, Sophie's amazing post-show commentary was so spot on that we kind of wish she had her own show to make hilarious comments like this one. But that wasn't the first time Sophie showed her support for her girl, Maisie. You didn't think she'd stay quiet after what happened between Arya and a certain Night King, did you? Maisie responds to Arya's epic moment. Spoiler alert for those of you who didn't watch the latest season. If you haven't, then you might want to fast forward a little bit. But if you've seen the show, then you obviously remember the epic scene when Arya Stark used her dragonglass blade to dust the Night King. It happened in season 8, episode 3, if you need to look up the exact moment. Don't tell us you missed that one. But it serves you right for not keeping up with Game of Thrones. The scene was really insane. Even some of the show's celebrities went on social media to discuss how they felt about it. Maisie Williams was pretty proud of what her character Arya pulled off, so she posted an Instagram story to talk about her victory in the episode. But it was Sophie Turner who stole the social media show again. In the background, you can hear Sophie saying things like, quote, she did that, that's right, hunty," end quote. Oh, and she was also doing the Soulja Boy dance behind the scenes. Sound off in the comments if you're old enough to even remember that dance. But seriously, these two only make us want to see more of the Stark sisters. It became pretty pretty clear that Sophie was Maisie's main cheerleader as she marched on the proverbial Aria Pride Parade. Forgetting Bono's name. Sophie and Maisie are like two peas in a pod, but even friendships as strong as theirs have a couple of embarrassing stories, and it turns out that Maisie had one that she probably didn't want anyone to know about. But Sophie couldn't help but spill the tea on this one. It all started when Maisie was guesting on BBC Radio 1 with host Nick Grimshaw. She had no idea Nick was messaging Sophie behind her back, but she figured it out after Grimshaw asked Maisie about the time she met Bono. Maisie explained that she and Sophie met Bono backstage at a U2 concert, but Maisie didn't want to come off like an obsessed fangirl, so when Bono asked what her name was, she asked for his name in return. Maisie recounted, quote, "He was like, 'I'm Bono.'" End quote. This feels like one of those moments when a waiter says, "Enjoy your food," and you say, "You too?" #facepalm, right? Post one of your most embarrassing slip-ups in the comments below. Embarrassing herself once was bad enough, and reliving the moment on air must have been worse. But this was Sophie's way of getting Maisie back for something she did in the past. Sophie made sure to patiently wait until she could get Maisie to pay for what she did. But what had Maisie done that had made Sophie turn on her sister? Well, let's get into it. Sophie's imaginary friend. Forcing Maisie to talk about the whole Bono thing on BBC Radio 1 might have seemed harsh, but it turns out that Maisie is not that innocent either. Now, tell us the truth, how many of you had an imaginary friend growing up? Most of you probably did, but would you own up to having an imaginary friend in your mid-teens? Probably not, which explains why Sophie Turner never revealed to us that she had an imaginary friend named Engelbert Wilson when she was around 14 or 15 years old. But she made a mistake by telling Maisie, who told Nick Grimshaw, who brought up Engelbert when Sophie guested on BBC Radio 1. Sophie had no choice but to talk about her imaginary friend. Things got pretty embarrassing as she had to fess up to even creating a Facebook page for him. She even invited Engelbert to her 21st birthday party event. Oh, Sophie, honey, no. It's no wonder Sophie returned the favor when it was Maisie's turn to go on the show. But these two are 10 times more hilarious when they join forces, don't you think? The best duo on Vine. Maisie and Sophie are funny in their own right, but when the two come together, they're hysterical, and they've proven that by joining forces on Vine. Now, friends usually dare each other to do silly things, and these two are no exception. These girls just want to have fun and post it all over social media. Other times, they're just flipping each other off while they travel, but sometimes they'll do some crazy skits like that time Sophie interrupted Maisie's shower. Well, sort of. In the video, Sophie starts out by saying, quote, "Maisie, I hope you won't be in the shower too long," end quote. Then she walks in on Maisie, who's lying in the bathtub, fully clothed, drinking the shower water like a cat. But of course, our favorite is the one when they're dressed in goth makeup and dancing. We'd like to know the story behind that one for sure. But even before they were Vine queens, they were too busy practicing their signature moves. You know, just in case they ended up making it in showbiz. Practicing for fame. Have you ever practiced your unique signature? You know, the autograph you'd need to use to sign photos when you became famous? Well, Maisie and Sophie did. They suspected they were destined for greatness, much like their alter egos Arya and Sansa. When they first got cast for the hit series, the two of them started practicing signing their autographs. But it's been a while, so they probably forgot all about this. However, one fan was there to remind them of this momentous occasion in their friendship. They posted on Twitter a photo of the actresses' signatures on a Game of Thrones book and wrote, quote, "Maisie and Sophie's quality 2009 signatures," end quote, which was obviously meant to be a dig. Once they saw the tweet, Maisie replied, quote, "We practiced these for days," end quote. Sophie also confirmed on Twitter that they had practiced the signature for hours before they had to do a book signing. Don't lie and say you haven't done this all over your notebook. They're just funny girls. Maisie tends to march to the beat of her own drum, and the best part is that she's not afraid of making fun of herself. Remember the time she realized she looked a little like an emoji? She came up with her own emoji name, Emaisie, which definitely gives her extra brownie points for creativity. Then there's the time when she totally baffled a journalist who was trying to figure out who designed her dress, but Maisie handled the question in Maisie's own style, and just told the reporter, quote, "Mexican wrestlers," end quote, which left them thoroughly confused. And then Maisie confirmed she was wearing Mexican wrestlers, quote, "all stitched together to make a dress," end quote. Where does she even come up with this kind of stuff? But Maisie is truly one of a kind. Who could forget the time she shared how she almost missed out on her Game of Thrones audition because she wanted to visit a pig farm? They support one another. Can you name a more amazing pair of friends than Maisie Williams and Sophie Turner? Just try. We'll wait, but you probably won't come up with one. Not only do they know how to have tons of fun, but they're there to help each other, like the time Sophie helped fix Maisie's train on the red carpet, and Maisie once told Rolling Stone that she and Sophie were kind of a nightmare to work with. While some co-stars cause mayhem on set because they don't get along, these two are the total opposite. Apparently, they like to keep the GOT crew on their toes, like the time when they freaked out their co-stars by sneaking kisses into certain Game of Thrones scenes. And then there's the time they got matching tattoos. They inked their arms with the date July 8, 2009 because that's the date they landed their famous TV roles. Now, is that cute or what? So even though saying goodbye to Arya and Sansa Stark was inevitable, that definitely won't be the case between Maisie and Sophie. What do you think these two besties will be up to next? If it ever came down to Joe Jonas and Maisie Williams, who do you think Sophie would side with? That's a choice we'd never want to make. Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe to The Trendy.